and justice for all. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the men and women on the dais and joining us by Zoom. Thank you for the sacrifices that they make for us and the sacrifices their families make as well. Give them great wisdom in their deliberations tonight. We thank you for the swift recovery from Mayor Zwalin. Look forward to her return and continue to pray for Officer Rokitis as he goes through the significant rehabilitation that he must go through.
San Diego Health
Looking,
calling to confirm an appointment for
that's
William.
not the voice of God, but it's close. And Lord, as we look forward to the next few months, to the fall and to the winter, we pray for rain, we pray for good snowpack and end of the drought, and we pray for safety in our neighborhoods and prosperity in our business community. Amen.
Thank you very much, Michael. We appreciate you being there. And not sure about the interruption, but on we go. Does the city clerk have any announcements?
Yes, Mayor. Item 10 has been pulled from consent.
All right, thank you very much. Do any of the council members have any conflicts of interest?
No.
I cannot see Councilmember Wright
No.
and Councilmember Canoyer.
No.
All right, thank you. Will the city attorney report out on closed session, please?
Yes, Mayor. The council considered a few items under closed session tonight. No reportable action was taken.
Thank you. If anyone would like to speak under any item under public comment, we will do that at this time. This is for items not on the council agenda. And each of you have 3 minutes to speak. And we will go, first of all, with any names that are on the screen. At this time, Scotty, do we have any names?
Yes, we
With
have.
hands raised.
We have Emily Goodwin.
All right, Emily.
Just a moment, Mayor. Sorry.
Sure. And while we're waiting, if anyone is in the audience in person in council chambers, if you would please fill out a blue card and give that to our Assistant City Clerk, Dana. She will announce those after we do the online participants.
I actually wanted to speak on item 10 of the consent calendar.
All right. Would you like to save that for when we have the presentation for that?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay, great. All right, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else online?
I see Michael Schiffelbein.
Yes. Hi, Pastor Michael Scheifelbein.
Yes, I just wanted to speak about the issue of housing in our community. How in my own congregation, I know that people struggle to find housing. People struggle sometimes just to find a room that they could afford. And so I know if someone has children, that's going to be more difficult, and that rents at $1,200 a month are an awful lot. So I just want to really promote a right to counsel for folks within our community. I know that Faith in the Valley is really advocating this advocacy for people who are threatened with eviction or wanting to hold on to a place where they could live, that's something that's affordable. So I just wanted to support that myself and say from my own experience that this would be a wonderful good for people within our community.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it. And next we have Kevin Mcclarvey.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Good evening. And Mayor, I hope that you're feeling better. And
I am. Thank you. Much better.
Right. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. Yes. I wanted to talk about 2 matters. They're kind of related, but the first one is, once again, I want to talk about many of the roads that are not striped properly. They have not been striped in many, many years. And there are parts of Carpenter Road, for instance, that you can't even see the stripes when you're driving at night. Also, on the approach to the Briggsmore Overpass, coming from Carpenter Road, going north, those stripes cannot be seen. Also on Dale Road, over by Kaiser Hospital, going in both directions. And I would hope that the city could make that a priority. It's very, very dangerous driving at night when you cannot see the stripes in the roadway. And I'm hoping that something can be done about this. And I know that the city's short on money, but I'm wondering if the city could get a federal grant or something. Now, I wanted to talk also about, once again, about the parallel parking places on 13th Street and also other streets downtown. And I've come to realize that the problem is that you're backing out into faster moving traffic that is moving faster than it is in a parking lot. Those kind of parking places are okay in a parking lot because you're driving out, the traffic in and of itself is driving very slowly. So if they see a car backing out, they usually will stop and enable that car to back out. That's not true on a public roadway where cars are going 25, 30, 40 miles an hour. And so that is why I believe that those parking spaces are dangerous on a busy city street as opposed to a parking lot. And I would encourage the city to take a look at what can be done to safeguard those parking spaces, make them safer. They're also too long, which means that you have to back out way too far. You already are in traffic. By the time you realize that there's a vehicle coming your way, you're already in traffic because the spaces are too long. So I would encourage the city manager and the city engineers to take a serious look at these parking spaces because I believe that they are not safe. And I did a little survey on some of my websites that I run, and everybody except one person said that they agreed they could not see out of those spaces. Now, one person that said that they could see said only if it's daytime and only if there's not a car next to me. So I think that says it right there. Please take a look at those parking spaces and see what can be done. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, Jack Fahey.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Anyway, thank you, Madam Mayor and City Council. I would like to make a comment. This is my first time. I came up with the idea of creating a new 911 emergency department that would respond to mental health emergencies. I call it the Mental Health Department. It will become the 4th First Responders Department, not only in Modesto, but also in America. We need to create a comprehensive plan on making a building of this new department and the organizational chart of it. The employees will be the social workers, counselors, therapists, and psychologists in helping people during a mental health crisis. The employer and the leader of this department will be a psychiatrist or a psychologist with a PhD degree. The police department cannot turn the police officers into social workers because their duty is to stop and apprehend the criminals. So I support the police officers on doing their job. The final thing I'm asking is for the paramedical department that has ambulances, the fire department, the police department, and the mental health department to work together in order to keep people alive and safe in their community. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for your remarks. I do not this time see anyone else's hand raised. I see Michael Scheifelbein, but maybe that's still it. All right, I see Kyle Seaver.
Hello, could you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello. So I was just calling in. My brother Trevor Seaver was murdered by Joseph Lamatia. I also agree that we need an alternative mental health line with unarmed mental health experts responding to calls. We also need an independent police auditor. We need officers to be drug and alcohol tested after firing their weapon or whenever they're in a physical altercation with a civilian. I'm also asking that December 29th would be Trevor Seaver Day, the day that he was murdered by Joseph Lamatia. I'm also asking that we could get a mural painting of Trevor Seaver somewhere in the city of Modesto. I hope you have a safe and quick recovery, Mayor Suzuelen, and I hope everybody has a great night. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. I do not see any other hands raised at this point online. So I will ask if there are any blue cards. Dana in the room, if you would read the names and ask people to come forward.
Yes, Mayor. Kimberly Alston.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First, giving honor to God and to this fine city council. I have been greatly affected by COVID and the eviction process. And recently, I have found a place to live, and I'm grateful for that. I truly am. But at the same time, my standard of living has decreased tremendously. I'm now living in a trailer park off of Olivera Road. I'm trying to stay focused so I can, speaking with the owner of the trailer park, I asked him why all the tenants are asking me why am I there, because he doesn't rent to Black people. And he said, yes, he doesn't. He said they lie and they're behind on their rent. And that I am there because another white tenant referred me, and she pays her rent and she's a good tenant, and that's the only reason why that I'm in here. I stated that because the last time I stood, I told you of the discrimination that I've received in this city since I've moved here in Modesto 20 years ago. Everywhere I live, there's some type of racial discrimination with housing or where I can live or this. And now I'm being discriminated against by the tenants because I've come in, cleaned up, laid sod, and made the place look like a decent trailer park. So now I'm the victim of drug addicts, needles all around me. It's infested with cat, and it's like you call SBC. Someone was bit by a dog yesterday, and the police didn't even show up. Someone in the trailer park has a vicious pit bull, and it attacks someone. You call, they don't even show up. I think I'm in Compton because of the helicopters that are there every night looking for someone on the ground who committed a crime. I'm not used to living like that. And so I have greatly been affected that this is what I have to be subjected to because 3 times the amount of rent is required. I'm on Social Security. That automatically makes me homeless. No one will rent to me. I don't, the waiting list for Section 8 or senior living, I am 61 years old. I know I look good, thank you very much. The waiting list is 5 to 10 years. Old people aren't dying as quick as the young are dying. And so there is really, really a serious problem with affordable housing. How things are set in place. Something has to be done that I have to live out my last days. I've worked and paid into the system all my life. I've worked for Andy Prokop in Stockton. I've worked for the United Way. I've brought money in and did numerous things for the community all over the place. And here I'm living in a drug-infested, needles on the ground, cat feces. It's just deplorable how I have to live. And there's no affordable housing. In closing, I still want to know, and if it's possible, if the city council can tell me where the revenues for the cannabis clubs. We got a cannabis club on every corner from McHenry all the way to Riverbank. And these clubs are bringing in billions of dollars weekly. And where is the funding going? Colorado did an awesome thing. The state of Colorado, they took all their cannabis funding and they made tiny houses with real strict provisions for living there. Those with pets and how you have to maintain the housing or you will be out of there. Something has to be done. I'm begging the council. To look at more affordable housing for. I know my time is up. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Derek King.
Good evening, citizens of Modesto, to the council. This might be tough, so bear with me. I'm a 54-year-old man. I moved to Modesto 27 years ago in '94. That means half of my life has been spent here. When I first moved here, I was befriended by a young man who was similar in age to me, named Louis Bland. Excuse me for keep hitting the microphone. His name is Louis Bland. On August 28th, I found out Mr. Louis Bland passed away. You want to know who Louis Bland was? Let me read from the back of the book of his #1 bestseller. Louis C. Bland is a former scholarship student athlete at CSU, Sacramento, an entrepreneur, best-selling author, professional entertainment and events promoter with over 20 years experience. As a successful real estate investor, Louis focused on residential properties in California, husband and father of 3 high-level student athletes. Louis has mentored and coached young people in the community for 20+ years. I say that because I'm just a 27-year proud resident of Modesto. I'm born and raised in Detroit. I've come here and represented the city since I've been here on all levels. Mr. Louis Bland just passed away. We have in the city 8,174 approximately African Americans who live in this residence. That's 4% of the population. I checked since his passing, and I do not represent, first of all, his wife, Mrs. Lisa Bland, or his 3 sons. This is a concerned citizen. I am here to start a petition to erect a statue of that proud black man who served your city, my city, all his life. I've looked, I can't find one statue of my people. And this is not a racial instance, because I promise you, I'm here with no permission of his family or anybody. This is just somebody who loved that man. I promise you, next month, I can flood inside and outside of this building with supporters who will speak of him the same way I am. Forgive my emotions, but that's how great of a man he was. I don't know the exact procedures because I've never been through this before, but I am here to say that I am here to start a petition or whatever it takes to either erect a statue, rename a street, a park, a building, and or all 4 in the name of Louis Bland, full-time, lifelong resident of Modesto. If what I'm saying here today is not taken seriously, I can show you next month who Mr. Louis Bland was by flooding this place. That's all I have to say for now. Excuse me, I do have, because I want to make sure I don't have to come back here. The last thing, like I said, met him when I was 27. He was 26. I've read his book. I suggest everybody read this man's book, A Modesto Citizen. Besides that, I don't know, other than what the book says, and get to read it, about his life 26 years before I met him. I don't want to be met with any slander or any negative words of this man's name, reputation, or life. You investigate who this man was. I've investigated starting from, and I'm almost done, but I don't want to have to come back here, starting with Robert C. Henry, who we call McHenry, the street. He deserted the Army. the Mexican-American War. And I'm not here to slander his name. I'm just saying I'm prepared. If anybody here to say anything bad about Lewis, every street name here I've investigated. We're not here for the negative, and I don't know if there's any negative. I'm here for that man and his name. Any decisions from after today is to be made by Mrs. Lisa Bland or his kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Latricia Beasley. Latricia Beasley.
Good evening, City Council, Madam Mayor. Hope everyone is well this evening. I arose and I come this evening as a member of the community, also as a representative from Faith in the Valley and with many community leaders, some whom may be online or have been online or could not come tonight. But I stand before you because I want the City of Modesto to consider and implement the right to counsel, The right to counsel bill would provide income-eligible tenants who are sued for eviction in housing court a right to an attorney to defend their case. Right to counsel may also be provided for an appeal if the provider determines there is non-frivolous basis for the appeal. Right to counsel is provided regardless of what kind of eviction case a tenant is presented with, whether it's a 3-day notice to pay or quit, a 30-day notice to vacate, or what kind of tenant they are, Section 8 or otherwise, a house, apartment, mobile home, it does not matter. We need to implement a right to counsel. As our moratorium is ending at the end of September, we don't have anything in place to help those who will find themselves evicted and homeless. We already have a high homeless rate here in our city and in our county. We need to do something for our people. Does not matter. They will be living in their cars. They will be living along our park sides. We need, and homeless is not what we have known it to be. It looks like me, a person who is trying to work, working class people are finding themselves homeless today, having to live in their cars. We should break this cycle. We should implement a right to counsel. Oh, did my time run out? I don't see the clock. Oh, thank you. There are consequences of evictions. They go on people's record for 7 years, which keeps them again for 7 years out of housing. Does the City of Modesto have anything that they're doing for people with evictions? Are you writing a plan for it? Are you getting ready for the flood that will open on September 30th? Consider the right to counsel. Just like people who are in criminal court have the right to a public defender, somebody needs to defend the people who are going into eviction court. Because guess what? Landlords, their attorneys show up against the tenant who does not know how to navigate the paperwork, does not know what to say, what the laws are. We do know your rights all the time. They need representation. We are a city that is of wealth, water, and contentment, and we need to stand up for the people. So I am asking the council to consider a right to counsel, as LA has done. There are other cities in states that have implemented the right to counsel, and it is working for the people. The people are whom you work for. Please consider a right to counsel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Anthony Aruza.
Good evening, Council. Mayor Sue Swallen, Arouza. Thank you. So I second the right to counsel for our city of Modesto. I want to highlight some economic conditions that affect our Central Valley. Evictions happen at a higher rate in the Central Valley than anywhere else in California. Specifically, we live in a county in which 18 and 10,000 households evictions occur. That is a Cal Matters data statistic there. For Stanislaus County specifically, United Ways just released a study that nearly 1/3 of Stanislaus County households are struggling to cover the cost of living, despite all having at least one working adult in the home. So we are a part of a county, and specifically Modesto. Many people in our city, as a result of difficult economic conditions, have found themselves in the process of eviction and subsequently living unhoused. We know of people personally in this community who are working, they have a partner who's working, have children, and have to pay out in a Motel 6 to live. All of their income goes there. And as a result of that, and being unable to keep up with that cost, have to live in their car at places such as Griseda or Cesar Chavez Park. You name it, it's all across our community. We have people that we worked with as Faith in the Valley, as someone who lives in the community, who are living these economic conditions in our city. Renters in Stanislaus County need to earn $23 per hour, which is 1.7 times the state's minimum wage to afford the average monthly asking rent of $1,255. I don't know very many people who are working class who make that, and due to the shortage of affordable homes, 15,000 plus units and counting, we see the homelessness crisis that's occurring in our city. We have neighbors who are unhoused. We have people who are pushed out and locked out from the affordable housing market. How can a right to counsel work? More specifically, they can be implemented through education and outreach, eviction prevention interventions, full representation for eligible tenants in eviction proceedings, rental assistance, ongoing support for those tenants, and evaluations. My partner organizer here mentioned several jurisdictions, New York City, San Francisco, Los Angeles. Specifically, they have comprehensive reports and toolkits to support other jurisdictions that may learn from their process and develop a right to counsel. The National Coalition for a Civil Right to Counsel provides an abundance of research and resources for civic and community leaders. Findings have consistently revealed that when tenants are able to navigate the complex and robust legal process with representation, they participate more effectively in the legal process. There is a reduction in the number of default judgments, and both parties are much more likely to enter into settlement agreement, which is why myself as a community member and somebody who represents Faith in the Valley and all of the people who have been affected, these aren't just numbers and data. We know people personally in our community, and to put a face on it is a whole other story. That's why we support a right to counsel, and we ask that the city government, our city of Modesto, and the people who represent us consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all the blue cards I have.
All right, thank you. I'm looking online one more time. I do not see any other hands raised. All right, we will move on to consent items. Will the city clerk please read the consent items?
Yes, Mayor. Item 1, consider approving the minutes from the August 10th, 2021 council meeting. Item 2, consider final adoption of ordinance 3734-CS, an omnibus amendment to Title 10 of the Modesto Municipal Code to address land uses permitted in the professional office zone, residential densities, parking requirements, non-residential fencing, and other minor amendments to update and streamline the city's zoning regulations. Item 3, consider final adoption of ordinance 3736-CS, amending Modesto Municipal Code Section 4-23.02 by adding additional restricted items for manner regulations as to public assemblies. Item 4, consider approving the recommended budget adjustments to fiscal year 2020-21 and fiscal year 21-22 annual operating and capital improvement program budgets, amending the position allocation for fiscal year 2021-22 and amending the classification plan for the city of Modesto. Item 5, consider approving a professional services agreement for redistricting with redistricting partners for demographic and census mapping consultant services for the city's restricting process for an agreement total not to exceed $80,000. Item 6, consider accepting an informational report for the July 2021 accounts payable payment register and void report. Item 7, consider accepting an informational report on the May and June 2021 grant applications and awards. Item 8, consider authorizing an update for the Director of Finance, Accounting Manager, and Senior Financial Analyst or other city employees designated in writing by the City Manager to the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration to examine sales or transactions and use tax records of the Finance Department pertaining to sales and use taxes collected for the City of Modesto. Item 9, consider accepting the annual investment report for fiscal year 2020-21. Item 10 was pulled from consent. Item 11, consider approving the award of bid and service agreement for an on-call mechanical and refrigeration services to Champion Industrial Contractors Incorporated for a 2-year agreement with 3 one-year extension options for an annual estimated cost of $158,101 and a total amount not to exceed $790,505 over 5 years. Item 12, consider approving the award of bid for the purchase of solar advanced school zone beacons to JAM Services Incorporated for a total amount not to exceed $76,538. Item 13, consider approving the award of bid to Town Ford from Redwood City, California for city fleet replacements for parks, recreation, and neighborhoods in the amount of $144,313. Item 14, consider approving the award of an informal bid and purchasing agreement for exterior car washes with Mr. Car Wash for a 2-year agreement with 3 one-year extension options for an annual estimated cost of $16,500 and a total amount not to exceed $82,500 over 5 years. Item 15, consider approving the purchase agreement for cameras, license plate readers, accessories, and camera licensing to Affinitech from somewhere in Minnesota by utilizing the competitive bid process with the State of California General Services acquisitions to IP Solutions from Cameron Park, California by utilizing the competitive bid process with the State of California Multiple Award Schedule, and to IntelliSite from Ceres, California by utilizing the competitive bid process with the State of California for a 1-year agreement with 4 one-year extension options for an annual estimated cost of $350,000 between 3 vendors and a total combined amount not to exceed $1,750,000 between 3 vendors over 5 years. Item 16, consider amending the position allocation plan in 3 departments, fire departments, to reallocate and reclassify 4 fire division chiefs to 4 fire deputy chiefs, information technology department to create 2 system engineer allocations, and in the city manager's office to create 1 public relations and legislative affairs manager, and reclassify 1 community and media relations officer to 1 communications and media relations officer. Item 17, consider adding terms to the unrepresented benefits resolution to include an assignment pay for fulfilling the duties of fire assistant chief at 10% and fire division chief at 5% on an as-needed basis, and granting authority to the fire chief to appoint the duties and assignment pay for fire assistant chief to a current fire deputy chief and for fire division chief to a current fire battalion chief, and rescinding resolution 2020-309. Item 18, consider approving professional services agreement with Ralph Anderson and Associates, CPS HR Consulting Incorporated of Sacramento, California, Gallagher and McKinney, Gallagher Benefit Services Incorporated, Avery Associates from Los Gatos, and Peckham and McKinney from Roseville, California, to conduct citywide executive recruitment services on an as-needed basis for a 2-year contract with 3 optional years of extensions for a potential 5-year agreement for various recruitment services at the sole discretion of the city in an amount not to exceed $350,000 over 5 years. Item 19, consider approving submittal of grant applications for the installation of electric vehicle charging stations for parking services from multiple agencies to include, but not limited to, the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District, Inland County's Incentive Project, State of California, and the federal government. Item 20, consider approving a First Amendment for the Fleet Services Division for the purchase of tires for the following vendors: McCoy Tire, McCoy Truck Tire, and the Valley Tire, Modesto, California, for an annual combined estimate cost increase of $160,000 from $290,000 to $450,000, and a total revised combined amount increasing by $320,000 from $1,450,000 to $1,770,000 over a 5-year period. Item 21, consider approving a First Amendment for the purchase of equipment and vehicle parts to the following vendors: Motor Parts Distribution of Modesto, California, Modesto Auto Parts, formerly Napa Auto Parts from Modesto, California, Fleet Pride Truck and Trailer from Modesto, California, and Interstate Truck Center from Turlock, California, for an annual combined estimated cost increased by $240,615 from $335,000 to $575,615, and a total revised combined not to exceed amount increased by $721,845 from $1,675,000 to $2,396,845 over 5 years. Item 22, consider accepting the North Trunk Sewer Project as complete, authorizing all necessary steps to file with the county recorder, releasing securities, and releasing payments totaling $1,815,693 to Rolf Construction Incorporated of Atwater, California. Item 23, consider approving the award of bid for the furnishing of water storage tank inspections, cleaning, and repair services for the Utilities Department Water Division to Rubicon Applied Divers from Conroe, Texas, as the primary contractor, and DRS Marine from Vallejo, California, as the secondary contractor, for an estimated combined annual amount of $75,000 and a total combined amount not to exceed $388,780 over 5 years, and authorizing the city manager to change the allocation of funds between the primary and secondary contractor, subject to the total combined not to exceed amount of $388,780 over 5 years. Item 24, consider approving a First Amendment to the citywide purchase agreement with W.W. Granger Incorporated from Lake Forest, Illinois, for maintenance, repair, and operation supplies, and increasing the annual amount by $100,400 from $113,500 to a new estimated annual amount of $213,900, and a new total amount not to exceed $1,121,879 over 6 years. Item 25, consider approving a First Amendment to the citywide purchase agreement with MSC Industrial Supply Company Incorporated from West Sacramento, California, for the purchase and maintenance of bin stock items, and increasing the annual amount by $50,000 from $110,000 to a new estimated annual amount of $160,000, and a new total amount not to exceed $700,000 over 5 years.
Move to approve all consent items except item number 10.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Councilmember Canoyer and a second by Councilmember Wright. Will the city clerk please do the roll call?
Councilmember Zalaki?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Mayor Zwollen?
Aye. So it carries unanimously. We apparently have to restart the Zoom. They have lost the connection. So they're going to restart it. So if you lose connection, please try to rejoin if disconnected, and I will be doing the same if my connection is lost. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We are restarting now.
Okay, Mayor and members of the council, the Zoom computer in the chambers has been restarted and we now have connectivity.
All right, thank you very much. We will consider item number 10 on the consent agenda now. It says consider approving becoming a member of the California Enterprise Development Authority, CEDA, and authorizing CEDA through Dividend Finance Incorporated as program administrator, to offer its program and levy assessments within the City of Modesto for property assessed clean energy PACE program for only commercial properties. And I will turn this over to Deanna Christensen.
Director of Finance. Just give me a second to get the presentation up.
Just a second, Deanna.
So just to provide a little bit of background in regards to PACE. So the abbreviation of PACE means Property Assessed Clean Energy, which is a program that is available to establish energy efficiency programs both for property and commercial owners here in the community. The program allows for an opportunity to be able to take these improvements and finance them through these PACE financing programs, utilizing the contractual assessment levied on the owner's property, which is what would then trigger them to make the payments associated with that financing through their property tax payments. So under Assembly Bill 811, signed back in 2008, it required that PACE providers must seek City Council approval in order to be able to operate their program here in Modesto. So based on that assembly and just the background of what's been authorized to date, so back in March of 2014, Council approved us becoming a member of the Western Riverside Council of Governments, which would allow residential properties to be able to participate in the PACE program, and specifically the program was HERO. And then shortly after, back in April of 2015, we did come back and add one additional PACE provider, again solely for residential PACE programs under the California Statewide Communities Development Authority, or the California First PACE program. So at this time, as I mentioned, the PACE providers that are currently authorized to utilize their programs here in Modesto are only focused on residential properties, and we currently do not have one that is available for PACE commercial properties. The other thing I do want to mention is the state is still establishing the regulatory framework. There has been many, both here at previous public meetings in regards to concerns in regards to the residential program. There's been many assembly bills that have been put in place to establish what that framework is, as well as putting more requirements that PACE providers are required to do in order to be able to continue with the program. But at this time, as part of this item, we are not recommending to add any PACE residential programs at this time. So what we're recommending as part of this item is to bring forward a commercial PACE provider. The specific program administrator is referred to as Dividend Finance, who is one of the largest clean energy finance companies here in the United States. The PACE financing provides, again, capital, private commercial property owners, again, to be able to utilize this financing mechanism for these improvements. This one actually was brought forward to us. There is actual Modesto property commercial owner that is coordinating a project of about $2.5 million to do energy efficient improvements. The specific improvements I just wanted to mention are specifically related to doing improvements at a medical building, as well as several other facility improvements that, again, make up that $2.5 million. The commercial property owner here in Modesto is been working with Dividend Finance to utilize the PACE program, but as I mentioned, they are unable to do that until they get the approval in order to be able to utilize their program here in Modesto. The city has no financial, regulatory, or enforcement responsibility related to recommending this PACE provider. In regards to monetary impacts or costs to the city, again, there's no cost to add a PACE provider, and there are indirect benefits to the city in regards to being able to increase the property values related to that specific property that's getting those improvements, as well as opportunities for job enhancements, as well as economic development here in Modesto. So I won't repeat what Mayor mentioned, but again, we are recommending to add the additional member. Dividend Finance is a program administrator, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions in regards to this item.
All right, we will start with questions from the council. Since Councilmember Wright and Canoia are in person, do either of you have any questions?
No questions from me, Mayor.
Right, thank you. Sorry, Councilmember Canoia, I could not hear.
No questions from me.
All right, Councilmember Madrigal, I see your hand raised online.
Real quick, what's like the smallest, is there like will they do projects for, will this one that we're considering tonight, this program do projects for any commercial size?
No, it's not for any commercial size in regards to commercial properties.
So is there like a ceiling or a floor or whatever?
I actually have the representative from Dividend that can also be available just to provide a little bit more detail, if that's okay. His name is Peter.
I'm just thinking about like, you know, mom and pop shops or whatever, you know, and like, I don't know, medium businesses. So I'll wait to hear from them.
Mayor, if you would like, I could allow Mr. Gribal to speak.
Sure.
Or do you want to wait? Okay.
Hi, my name is Bill. I run the commercial program for Dividend Finance. We are a California employing roughly 205 people, mostly here in the state. Councilman Madrigal, thank you very much for your question. Our program will make commercial PACE financing available for projects as small as $100,000. And it is available to any commercial property owner in the city of Modesto who has a qualifying project. Typically, those projects will be solar or some sort of energy efficiency improvement to the property. But as long as it meets that $100,000 threshold, then we would make the financing available to that property owner.
Okay, that was my question.
All right, thank you. All right, any comments from the public? I believe we had at least one person that wanted to speak on this item.
We have Emily Goodwin.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members, members of the public. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm Emily Ramey. Goodwin is my maiden name, and I represent Y Green Energy Fund. We're the largest commercial PACE finance company in the country, and we've operated in the state of California for over a decade. First of all, we applaud City Council for its leadership on PACE programs, in particular tonight's discussion and consideration of one of the most respected commercial PACE companies and JPAs that governs that program. So we applaud the direction council's taking there and really support that vote. We strongly suggest that you consider adding our program at a future date. We've actually been trying to work with staff and council for years to get our program approved. And we've recently changed directions from considering the residential program to pursuing a commercial only adoption because of some of the timing issues related to the statewide regulations for residential that Deanna mentioned. And so but pleasantly surprised to see this agenda item, also hopeful that we can be fairly considered as a credible and well-respected commercial PACE program. We've completed more projects than any other PACE provider in the country. And the reason for that is primarily because we serve project sizes of all types. So both very small projects, medium projects, and large commercial projects. Most of our competition, including the PACE provider in consideration this evening, serve projects that are pretty large in size. And those are very important to the community. They make a very tremendous impact in your climate action plan goals because they generate a lot of energy savings and a lot of renewable energy or water conservation, whatever that measure is, right? So those projects like the one in the staff report tonight are very important. But we also think that serving the small to mid-sized customer market is extremely important. Those are customers that generally don't have the same access to financing that larger commercial property owners do. And so it's very important to us to be considered fairly to add some choice and competition to the market for commercial property owners, of which we actually have about a dozen kind of in the queue, hopeful that council will consider our program when they heard that you're thinking about adding a commercial PACE program. So with that, I would say thank you so much for your leadership on commercial PACE. We strongly support this vote, and we very strongly hope we can be back in front of council very soon for consideration and adding our leading commercial PACE finance program as well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else there in person from the public?
There are none.
All right. I see for council comments, I see Councilmember Zalaki's hand raised.
Thank you, Mayor. This might be a question to Deanna, but I'm not so sure if it would be so much there, or perhaps the city attorney. In analyzing this through our residential programs, I recall several years ago, we were looking at changing the PACE program for residential, but there was an outcry from the real estate community as they were finding and uncovering some of the programs that had been placed on houses and the assessments in place. And when the owner sold the property, they didn't realize what the impact was on the value of the house, because now there's an assessment for substantial amounts of improvements that have been put on it. And I guess it eluded the homeowner, the fact that that assessment has to be paid, or once it's noted by the new buyer, particularly if they have an agent, they'll read in the preliminary title report an assessment that may reduce the value of the equity significantly and for the homeowner. So that I know that the legislature has been dealing with it. I haven't really followed it lately, and by default of not having heard complaints recently, I'm just wondering how I could see with in a commercial environment, it might be substantially subdued to the fact how commercial properties are handled, how they're sold and traded. But is there any impact? Have we reached out to those that handle and broker those kinds of transactions of what the impact might be, and whether it's really a concern or whether there's a high concern? In any case, if somebody has the answers to those, be helpful. Also, just an update on what the legislature has done over the last few years since this has, I can see it's been mitigated somewhat just by speaking with people, but I don't know specifically what has happened at the legislature that they have done and what they have done.
So, council members, Zalaki, so again, over the few years, there has been several assembly bills that have been put in place by the state to address some of the concerns that you've mentioned in the meeting that you specifically, and it's actually been multiple council and committee meetings that we've had members of the Real Estate Association voice concerns about the PACE program from the residential standpoint. So the Department of Business Oversight, which I believe they have changed their name to the Department of Financial and Innovation. So they have been, putting in the framework based on the assembly bills that have been put in place. We did actually reach out to the department back in, I believe it was around mid-2020. And they did mention, again, they're still coordinating the framework in regards to the enforcement component. And it's supposed to be in place as of the end of 2020. When we checked in back in early 2021, it was still in process and still has not been put in place. But again, we continue to monitor it, and the goal is as we see that the enforcement framework portion has been put in place, and there's more reporting that we can utilize, then the goal will be to circle back with the real estate associations and just, again, meet back with the stakeholders that are very much involved in the PACE program and just evaluate the overall process before we would come before committee or council to recommend any future residential PACE providers. That's why the recommendation at this time is just to move forward with the commercial PACE. But again, we will continue to monitor it and look if there's any opportunities that we can bring before the committee and then eventually council to be able to address the concerns that have been voiced at prior committee and council meetings.
Okay, thank you, DM. And in light of that, I just want to be cautionary because I hate to see us get in a situation where in thinking it through with, as I said, with commercial, it's difficult to imagine where it might go quite awry. You would think that there'd be enough understanding of business that they know when you put an assessment on your tax bill, you have to pay it. And if the assessment is remaining at the time you're getting ready to sell it, you're going to have to pay it off, or you have to you would be required to tell whoever the buyer was that there is this assessment and perhaps negotiate something that's amenable to the buyer and the seller. And so those that are surprised and don't understand it are the concern, because a lot of times real estate can be in the transactions, they can be very complicated and not fully understood. So I guess what I am saying is that we should be cautious of this until we fully know what it looks like, what the framework's going to be, and how is it. I mean, it's a pretty simple process of just putting it in the recording, which it would be recorded on the document, and making the notices clear enough that the buyers, the owners fully know what they're getting into. Anyway, I'm not sure I'm ready to make a full decision on this one yet, so I'll listen to see what else comes up. Thank you.
All right, thank you. We have a comment and one more public comment that we missed before we hear from Council Member Madrigal. Emerson Drake.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe I missed it, but I'm just curious. Is there a local business that's wanting to utilize this program quickly, and that's why it's being pushed through with so little? Well, I don't see any committee that's vetted it yet. It appears that it's just the staff. So usually that means we're hot to run from somewhere. So is there a local business and that's looking to utilize these immediately? And if so, which one is it and who's the owner? That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. We will see if we have a response to that and then hear from Councilmember Madrigal.
So there is a Modesto business that is currently working with dividend finance. It is Centra Capital.
Hey, I turned off all the stove.
Tony, we can hear you. Are you speaking to us?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
That's all right. Just a moment. We're hearing from Deanna. Thank you. Go ahead, Deanna.
And we have been, probably over the last few months, we have been working with dividend finance. We also did bring this before the Economic Development Committee in August as well, before we brought it before council.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Madrigal, do you have a comment before we take a vote?
Well, I sort of had more of a question regarding the availability of this type of financing for, say, smaller. I was mentioning before, like mom and pop shop type businesses. I'd be interested in seeing staff bring back like a small business or small commercial program type of proposal before us, so that if there's another option for local small businesses, commercial, and I know mid-sized businesses that may not have as large of a project, say 100,000, but maybe something a bit smaller, that we could also provide that access to that capital for them to be able to make whatever energy and efficiency upgrades to their home using this program as well. So to the extent that that's possible, I don't know if it's possible as soon as next week. Looks like there's one that's spoke to public comment that says they're available, but that's what I'd like to see happen, assuming there's no objection from any of my colleagues, just to open it up to local small businesses as well.
All right. All right. At this point, Councilmember Ricky.
I have a comment. No.
Okay, then I'll go to Councilmember Canoyer.
Okay. I'm just curious, is dividend finance the only finance company that applied, or are they the only ones that we're considering? Since we did have another young lady speak. Was there more than one, or how did we come on dividend finance?
So dividend finance was brought forward because of the coordination and the financing efforts that were being made by the Modesto commercial property. The previous PACE commercial provider that spoke during public comment, and they did reach out to us probably around 2019, 2020. We actually, in 2018, we did bring them forward to a committee meeting, and it was recommended not to move forward. But as was mentioned, we recommended both the residential and the commercial at that time. So I will 100% coordinate with the PACE provider that did speak during public comment and go through the vetting process and look at how we want to move forward with the recommendations that were mentioned.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor, I have a
All
question.
right. All right, Councilmember Wright.
Yes, so Deanna, this is for business owners that own the building, correct?
Correct.
It's not for tenants of the buildings.
No, they have to own the property building for the commercial, correct?
Okay, thank you.
All right. I still see Councilmember Madrigal's hand and Councilmember Ricky's hand up. All right. So we.
I just wanted to say, Mayor, are you calling me? Am I asked?
Sure.
Okay. I think that it's a really good idea to try to, what we're trying to do here with the PACE program. I think it's awesome. I do think that the 100K threshold is pretty high. If we'd find a way to lower that threshold a little bit, I think that'd be helpful. 100K in solar in 2021 is a lot. And I know it's not just for solar, it's for other stuff too, but it is a lot. So just we should, ideally when we're putting these things together, I think we should keep in mind, our smaller business owners, to David Wright's point, also smaller landlords that are taking care of commercial businesses as well. That's all I got, Mayor. Thanks.
All right, sure. So I have a resolution approving becoming a member of the California Enterprise Development
Move
Authority.
approval. I'm sorry.
And authorizing them through Dividend Finance Incorporated as program administrator to offer its program and levy assessments within the City of Modesto for property assessed clean energy PACE program for only commercial properties, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the agreement. Do I have a motion?
Move approval. Move approval.
I have a motion by Councilmember Madrigal.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Wright.
Mayor, I have a comment before we vote.
All right, Councilmember Zalaki.
Thank you. I just wanted to, as I'm thinking the process through and understanding the impacts of what is before us, a little reluctant. In fact, I'm not going to support this at this time. Not that I'm against it, I actually support the idea. I just am not convinced that the notifications are clear enough that the average member of the public might put themselves at jeopardy by not understanding everything that they put in, thinking that it might be a little less than if they just got a regular loan and had it done themselves without putting an assessment on their property. So just want to make that clear. It makes sense, but I'm just not convinced that the notices are clearly understood by those that would be encumbering their properties. And yeah, any size. I mean, it's $30,000 is a lot of money to some people, and in a smaller business, that's probably what it's going to take to make some upgrades. So any size should be available to the public. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I have a motion by Councilmember Madrigal, second by Councilmember Wright. Will the city clerk please do the roll call? We can't hear.
Sorry.
We cannot hear.
Councilmember Zalaki?
There we go.
No.
Councilmember Knoyer?
Yes.
Councilmember Wright?
Yes.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. So it carries 5-1. All righty. We will go on to council comments and reports. Do any of the council members have any comments and reports?
I don't know. Do you have access to the button, or do we just call out?
If you have one, go ahead, Councilmember Knoyer.
Okay. I feel as a council person, and I've always let the public know this and all our constituents, that my health status is very important for them to know, how I'm doing and how it affects me as a council person. As a lot of people know, I've been fighting lung cancer for 3 years. Been really fortunate that the chemo has kept it under control, but apparently this last PET scan showed that it's trying to sneak back in again. And I'm fortunate that I go to a a clinic, a insurance company that keeps on top of this, and they have a new chemo for me. The only thing is I was spoiled for 3 years. I never had any effect. This is different. It kind of saps my energy a little tiny bit, but the most that it does, it affects my balance. So people will see I have my trusty little balancer here that without it, I could not walk very far. I just want everybody to know that other than that, I don't have quite the energy I used to, but still have the energy, and I plan on continuing doing my work and not letting this affect me. But I really think it's important for the public to know how we are, because we're public servants, and so that's important. And not that I want to get sympathy, but I do want your prayers. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Canoyer, for sharing that information. And we wish you well. And we are here for you. Councilmember Madrigal?
First and foremost, Councilmember Canoyer, I just want you to know you're definitely going to be in my thoughts and prayers. And I think as one of the council members in the past commented regarding your cancer, I think they said they feel sorry for the cancer because you're gonna whip that cancer. Just wanted to give a brief report. Today we had day one of a 2-day free haircuts for kids and backpack giveaway day in West Modesto at the Cutting Edge Barber Academy located at 425 Mays Boulevard. It happened today from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And tomorrow is day 2. So in case you missed today, you can still go tomorrow between 11 a.m. To 4 p.m. Cutting Edge Barber Academy is sponsoring the haircuts. That is, they're providing free haircuts for kids so they can look their best for school. And the backpacks that are stuffed with school supplies were donated by the Central Valley Latino Elected Officials Coalition, and which were co-sponsored by thanks to T-Mobile and HealthNet. So again, free haircuts for kids and backpack giveaway day. Day 2 will be tomorrow, Wednesday, September the 8th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Cutting Edge Barber Academy, 425 Mays Boulevard. I had something else to report in. Oh gosh, before I forget, I know next week, when I think it's Wednesday the 15th, approximately 5 p.m. is the Mexican Independence Day celebration happening at El Rematito in South Modesto, the flea market on Crow's Landing Road. It is free of charge, big family event. All of the council and mayor are invited, and we'd love to have you attend. Please mark your calendar. Lots of festivities and cultural celebration. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to make one comment that I am profoundly grateful for Officer Rokaitis being released from the hospital and onto his rehabilitation. And I wish him all the best, as well as his family, in a speedy recovery. And once again, want to express appreciation for his service, as well as all of our officers on the Modesto Police Department. I see Councilmember Ricky's hand up.
Thanks, Mayor. I want to echo your sentiments about Officer Rokaitis. I was reviewing the video of that incident, and it's just heartbreaking what happened to him and his family. So hang in there, guys. Jenny, just keep swinging there. You know, if we know anything about you, you'll just keep beating this, right? So just keep doing what you're doing, and my family's definitely thinking about you. I want to talk a little bit about Lou Bland. You know, that guy was absolutely a legend locally. I'll miss him a lot. I spoke with him when we were working on the cannabis equity grant, and I just had no idea it would be the last time I talked to him. So he was always working for his community, and so Lou, just like rest easy. You made a real difference here. I also want to talk a little bit about the chat program that MPD is working on. There was a comment earlier about, you know, a mental health department, and that is mental health department, cahoots, chat. This is something that police departments all over the country are working on in Modesto. I think is on the forefront of developing and learning about and kind of molding right now. And we're learning new things about how these kind of programs are working every single day. And so I'm really pleased with the progress the police department's making. I think we're learning every day and coming up with new ways to help the community more effectively. And I just think we have a really positive future there. So let's just keep working on it. I also want to talk a little bit about the housing situation that kind of came up again today. You know, there's a clear nexus between housing supply, homelessness, and quality of life in our city. I'm really looking forward to seeing the results of the progress we're making on ADUs. That's, you know, it's kind of the mother-in-law quarters or the granny flats, they call them. They're in the back of people's properties. Tiny houses is the kind of the chic way of talking about them, but getting more inventory on those is going to help our housing issues, and I think that's something we need to focus on. And we are, and it's coming together. It's just taking time, you know. But I also think we need to start really aggressively investigating smaller sized market rate units because they're easy to build and they also end up being affordable. You know, the problem is when you start saying affordable housing, it comes with a lot of red tape, which makes it really hard to get it done. So I'm thinking we need to also explore just smaller market rate units. And finally, I think we need to continue working on what we're doing, which is more facilities like the Kansas House. And so all the people that are talking about this, just know that the city is hearing you and working on it. I know it's a priority here. I also want to speak to the people in my district about what's going on with the homelessness in our area. You know, Grisada, Enslin, Pike Park, we know that it's been tough lately. A lot of this, I think, is due to the fact that we don't have safe places for kind of the unhoused to stay during the day. And so our city parks kind of just end up being where they are, and then they become fertile grounds for things like drug dealing and discarded needles and bushels of garbage and stuff. So I think we need a couple of park rangers to help immediately mitigate all this illegal activity. And we also need to start working on developing things like safe parking, motorhome parking, and safe camping and spots in our city. We need to start working on this ASAP. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Wright, did you have any comments?
Yes, I do, Mayor.
Okay,
it was great. It was great Sunday to be at the hospital, see Officer Rocatis discharge. There was a big group of police officers, sheriff officers, and our fire department that escorted him down to his rehab center there on Coffee and Mabel. He came out with a big smile on his face and a thumbs up, and I can tell that he was glad to be headed in a different direction than he has been for the last couple of weeks. But it was great to see the outpouring of love from our community and from our public service people to be there to cheer him on and support him. And I know they're all looking forward to his continued improvement and hopefully get back on the force when he's ready to come back.
All right, thank you very much. So next we're on to city manager comments and reports.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right. We need to restart our Zoom meeting again. So there will be why don't we take a 5-minute break or Yeah, so about 6:58 p.m. Let's make sure that we're back in case anyone needs a break, and you can restart it.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And just so everyone knows, Zoom did a forced software update this afternoon, and I believe that there are some bugs in the new software, so thank you for your patience.
Thank you. All righty, can everyone hear me? Chris said
Yes,
he could
we
hear
are.
me. Bill said he could hear me.
Yep, we're here in the chambers and...
Scotty, can you hear me?
Yes, we're in the chambers and you're live.
All right, great. Thank you so much. We will go on to item number 26, a hearing to consider an amendment to section 27-3-9 of the zoning map to rezone 0.80 acres from medium density residential R2 zone to planned development zone P-D 612 to allow for the development of 16 dwelling units at property located on the south side of Miller Avenue between Rosina Avenue and North Conejo Avenue. And we will have a staff report.
All right, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council, Steve Mitchell, Planning Manager. The project before you this evening is a 0.8 acre site on Miller Avenue. It's currently zoned R2, medium density residential. It's surrounded by residences to the north and west and east, and also by general commercial property to the south. As I mentioned, it's a 0.8 acre site. They're requesting to rezone it to a planned development zone to allow the construction of 16 apartments on the site. The purpose of the rezoning is because of a quirk in our zoning code, which we hope to remedy here. Actually, we did just remedy recently with a zoning code text amendment. Currently, the R2 zone allows a maximum of 11 dwelling units. The R3 zone has a minimum of 17 dwelling units that would allow for this site. So there's a bit of a gap here, and they would like to build 16 dwelling units. So it kind of falls in that gap. So at the time, that code amendment that recently got approved by the council wasn't effective yet. Their option was to rezone the property, so that's what they're proposing. One note about this project is that the water system in this area is substandard currently, and our utilities department identified that there really wasn't enough water pressure in this area to allow for a new development of this size. So the project is actually being conditioned that it cannot be built until the water system is upgraded, which the city is planning on doing. It's currently projected to be under construction and completed in next year in 2022. So they will have a slight delay before they can actually build this project until that water project has been completed, but we do anticipate that will be this next year. At the Planning Commission hearing for this project, there were a number of neighbors that expressed concerns about views into their area, into their homes, parking adequacy, security, and increased traffic. As a result of that, the Planning Commission did continue the item to allow the applicant to address those concerns. He subsequently redesigned the project to eliminate some second floor balconies that were part of the original project and to replace those with ground floor patios and reducing the privacy issues to the adjacent residences. In terms of parking, the project does actually exceed the city's minimum standards for parking. That was another concern expressed by the residents. And finally, in terms of security, the project will be fenced and gated, so it will have security. With that, the recommendation to you this evening is for approval of the rezoning, and be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question.
All right, Councilmember Wright.
So 17 units, so each unit will have a downstairs and an upstairs?
Yeah, that's correct. They're like townhouse style units.
Okay.
They're
So there'll be
two-floor.
no units upstairs, it'll be all part of those?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions from council members? Any comments from the public regarding this item?
There are no comments online?
All right, and no blue cards, anyone in person?
There does not seem to be anyone in person.
All right, any council comments?
Excuse me, there is a person that just raised their hand from the public.
Okay, great. In person or online?
It's online.
I'm looking.
Liam Dodgson.
Oh, okay, all right, I see it. Liam Dodson?
Good evening. What item is this agenda about?
This is item number 26.
Oh, sorry, I'm just for item 15.
Okay, we already completed that item.
Oh, all right then.
Would you?
Never mind.
All right. Thank you for being here. So any other public comments on item number 26?
At this time, I see no other hands raised.
Motion
All
to
right.
approve.
Okay, council comments? I was just gonna make one comment, as I do often. I drove by to see this, this area, this lot, and what the plans were, and I'll look forward to watching how it progresses. And I'm excited that we have some housing being considered, considering all the comments that we heard that, and the shortage that we have throughout our world, and certainly in our nation and in our own city. So I'm really excited to know that we'll have some more units going up there.
Mayor, I just thought of something that came into my mind. What is what is it? Is it a medium price for these, or what? How?
Square footage.
Yeah.
Oh, in terms of the size?
Well, no. How much?
Oh, how much will they be?
How much are they going to rent for?
They will be market rate. I don't have the price. I believe we actually have the applicant on Zoom, and he may be able to respond to that offhand.
Yeah, I was just curious
know.
what they were going to for these 17 units. How much they were going to charge for rent?
Sandeep? Yeah.
Mayor, we have the applicant with the hand raised.
All right.
We have.
Yep. Hey guys, thank you so much for having my agenda item today. This is Sandeep Minhas, one of the owners and builders of this particular project. Really appreciate what city personnel have done to sort of move this forward, and I am super excited as well as everyone else out there for housing, and also keep hearing about the shortages and everything else. So far, it is currently going to be a market rate rent for these units, just to answer one of the council members' questions. But yeah,
right.
Any other questions if there's any in regards to the...
No, thank you.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Just relatedly, I just want to echo your sentiments, Mayor. I'm excited to see more housing. We definitely need more of these type of, dare I call them infill projects, creating, more units of housing in our housing market. In addition to that, I just want to say I look forward to seeing, if possible, from our economic development department, a tool that I heard that was in the works. There was going to be like an online map of Modesto that will basically show all the available, lots around Modesto that can be developed into housing, whether they're small lots in neighborhoods or big lots. And I look forward to seeing that deployed soon.
All right, thank you. This will be a two-part motion. So I, first of all, have a motion. I'm asking for a motion introducing and waiving the first reading of an ordinance amending section 27-3-9 of the zoning map to rezone 0.80 acres from medium density residential R2 zone to planned development zone PD 612 property located along the south side of Miller Avenue between Rosina Avenue and North Conejo Avenue. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
All right, motion from Councilmember.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Ricky. Can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Zalaki?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. So it carries unanimously 6-0. We also have second part to this, a resolution approving a development plan for planned development zone PD 612. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
All right, approved by Councilmember Ricky,
Second.
second by Councilmember Wright. May we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Zalaki?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky,
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen.
Aye, so it carries 6-0. All right, on to item 27, a hearing to consider an amendment to section 22-3-9 of the zoning map to rezone 0.825 acres from neighborhood commercial C1 zone to planned development zone PD 613 to allow for a car wash at an existing gas station property located at 1400 Coffee Road. So we will have a staff presentation.
Yes, good evening again, Mayor, Council. This project is actually also a rezoning. This is for a commercial property located at the corner, kind of the northeast corner of Coffee Road and East Orangeburg Avenue. It's an existing gas station. It's been there for many, many years. They are looking to remodel this and add a car wash. And it is the car wash that necessitates the rezoning. It's located currently in the C1 zone, which does not allow car washes. So in order to add the car wash, they will have to, they are asking to rezone the property. Property is located, as I mentioned, at Coffee and Orangeburg. There are residences to the east and southeast of the property, and neighborhood commercial uses on the other corners of the intersection there at Coffee and Orangeburg. It's a little more than 0.8 of an acre site. Again, they're rezoning the property to add the car wash. They will also be remodeling the gas station, and the convenience store will be rebuilt and relocated slightly. This is the site plan, a little hard to read. So just to kind of just quickly orient, the car wash will be located kind of in the red rectangular area located at the north end of the site, and the vacuum stations will be located at the south end of the site adjacent to Orangeburg Avenue. There's the gas station pump islands out there towards Coffee Road. And finally, the convenience store will be located at the eastern end of the site. So one of the issues with adding a car wash is that it does generate some noise. So they performed a noise study. A couple of things to note. There are the entrance, the way the car wash is oriented, the entrance to the car wash does face east towards some residences. So we asked them to do a noise study. The noise study concluded that there would be no significant increase in noise levels to the adjacent residences. But the Planning Commission, as a result of some testimony they heard, is also recommending that the hours of operation for this project be limited to 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. to further reduce potential noise issues to the neighbors. And that is included in the recommended conditions. Also, they will be constructing an 8-foot masonry wall on the east and north property lines, which will also act to reduce noise. Parking for the project is adequate for city standards. It doesn't actually meet all of the full city standards because we do require 4 spaces for a car wash. That was the assumption that you would have employees of the car wash, but since this is an automatic car wash, it doesn't require that, so the parking is adequate. So with that, the recommendation is to approve the rezoning to allow the car wash in addition to the remodeled gas station convenience store. Be happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions from council members?
I have a question.
All right, Councilmember Wright?
Yeah, I'm glad to see that that car wash is actually exiting, the cars are exiting onto Coffee. I know the previous car wash that's there, they actually came out towards the east part and then on to Orangeburg. That can get very congested during the day. So I think this is a good design, seeing that those cars are coming out right on Coffee, and it will help with the neighbors there to the east. So I'm in favor of it.
All right, any other questions from council members? I don't see any comments from the public.
Okay, giving just a moment for anyone in the public to raise their hand on Zoom. And I see none. And also we see no one in the chambers and not aware of any blue cards. Is that correct?
Correct. There were written communications that were forwarded to council.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, comments from council members? I did want to comment that I did have a conversation with some neighbors over the weekend, and their greatest concern was at this point just watching the traffic to see how that flows, because as we know, Orangeburg, it does go into a residential area down to 2 lanes there between Coffee and Oakdale. And I did read the public comments. So I wanted to note that. Any other council members with comments? All right, this is a 3-part motion. The first is a motion introducing and waiving the first reading of an ordinance amending section 22-3-9 of the zoning map to rezone 0.825 acres from neighborhood commercial C1 zone to planned development zone PD 613, property located at 1400 Coffee Road. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second, Zalaki.
All right, we have a motion. Was the motion from
Right. Councilmember Wright.
Councilmember Wright? That's what I thought. And second from Councilmember Zalaki. Can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Zalaki?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye. The second, and that carries unanimously 6-0. The next is a resolution approving a development plan for planned development zone PD 613. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
All right, motion by Councilmember Canoyer,
Second?
second by Councilmember Wright. Can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Zalaki?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye, carries 6-0. The third resolution finding that the following subsequent project is within the scope of the project covered by the Modesto Urban Area General Plan Master Environmental Impact Report, SCH number 20140428081, rezone of 1400 Coffee Road from neighborhood commercial C1 zone to planned development zone P-D 613. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
All right, motion by Councilmember Wright. I'll make the second. Mayor Zwallen, can we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Zalaki?
Aye.
Councilmember Canoyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Madrigal?
Aye.
Councilmember Ricky?
Aye.
Mayor Zwallen?
Aye, so it carries 6-0. All right, I guess that's it. All right, are there any matters too late for the agenda? Seeing none, I am calling this meeting of the City Council to be adjourned. Thank you all for bearing with us and helping so much to make this a successful meeting this evening. Take care and be well.